Hello everybody, welcome back to the subway scene modeling, and I've made a little bit of progress that I wanted to show you, and then I'll continue for a bit more before we get to the subway train. So this is probably going to be the last video of this modeling, little pieces. There's so much that could be done. There's pretty much nothing done with the ceiling here, but I don't think I'm going to do anything. Maybe we'll texture it or something. I've just added these little plates up here to make it look like these pipe attachments are a little bit more realistic. Obviously I've done a tile floor here, and I'll show you how I did that. Added a piece up here where the tile would meet the rest of this, the wall, and a piece under here to do the same thing, and the same around the sides. A couple adjustments to the size of this. These cables were just hanging freely before, so what I did is I just angled these and I put these kind of connectors here, which were the same as the one that I've got right here connecting this camera. This other camera still doesn't have a cord, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I adjusted this piece here and added one up here as well, and I think that's about it, and I think I'm very close to being done with what I want to model. There's a couple more things, and then as a subway car of some sort, and then something here, either bright light or a door, or make it blend into a space scene. I don't quite know what I'm going to do there. But the last thing I thought I would do was I'd show you how I did the tile floor. And then I think I may model a couple of drains in the tile floor, and maybe one of those sort of emergency cones or safety cone, like if there's an open manhole or something, you know, those orangey red cones. I don't know how well it would fit the scene. And then, of course, I still want to do some kind of a strip down here, but I might do that with texturing, like, you know, those emergency, you know, hazard lines and stuff. So, yeah. So, okay, all right. So I'm just going to show you what I did for the floor. All right. So I think I'll take everything and hide it all. Shift C to bring the 3D cursor back there. 7 to look from the top. And basically what I did, instead of doing this in like procedural textures, you know, like or materials, you know, using brick and stuff, I wanted to do it in actual geometry. So I took a plane and I scaled in the X a little bit. And, you know, there's different ways to do this, and I just decided I would do it like this. And then I hit I to inset and pulled it in just a little bit, and then extruded it up just a little bit. And so I'll just do it quickly to there. And then Control B, and I came back, and I think I just put one bevel just like that. And this would be the tile part, and this would be like the mortar. So I had that, and then I went over to Array in the X, and I made this 0.5. Okay, so it's sort of halfway up like that. And then I looked at this distance here for the mortar coming out like that, and this is obviously twice that. So then I started to bring this back a certain amount, and we'll try 0.95. Okay, so that's obviously too much. I think it's probably around 0.99. It's kind of halfway, so let's say we go with that. And then I applied that, and then I said, okay, now I'll put another array in the X, and I think let's try 0.99 again. Actually 0.99, maybe 5. And let's see if I increase that, if it looks relatively equal. So I could then make this as big as I want in the X. I'll just do it like that for now. And then I added another array, and this one is going to be in the Y. Let's try 0.665. Stuff like that I had to figure out. And so now I'm looking at this distance versus this. 0.664. And then get something that looks relatively equal. You know, does that kind of look okay? And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's say that was okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and apply this, and I'll show you some issues with this. Okay. If we come in here now, there is some crossing and stuff of this. I intended to just leave it as shade flat, like this. If I start going into shade smooth, there can be some issues down here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it like this, and I think it looks just fine for what I want to do. And then I just, you know, kept before I applied the erase, kept adding them until it sort of fit across my floor. Let's see how that would fit for now. So like I say, before I added the erase, I just lengthened it out in the X and in the Y until it covered the floor that I wanted. And I may have done this in a different orientation. Let's see where I was at. 90. You know, that kind of thing. I also cut it off here, as you can see. It's straight. It doesn't go all the way to the end either, because you're never going to see that. I'll just quickly show you what I wanted to do. If you want a nice sort of straight floor, I'm just going to move this back here. Okay. So now you can come into edit mode, and I'll go into wireframe, and I can box select these pieces that fit out, turn on snap to edge, and zoom in and just drag it to here. And it may not go to the right one, so just do that. And something like this. And then don't forget, select it and go to clean up, merge by distance. It may get rid of some. So now I have a nice square piece of flooring I can use. Again, with a few issues, but it should look okay for what I'm doing. All right, so I'm actually going to take all this stuff again, and I'm going to hide it. And I've got my 3D cursor right there. I'm going to look from the top, and I'm going to bring in a plane. I'm going to leave it at that size for now. I'll go into edit mode, and I'm going to give it a bit of thickness. And let's say we do it this way. Let's look from the front, and let's go E, and I'm going to bring it up to this level just to get it going. I'm going to press I, and I'm going to inset it a bit like this. And then I'm going to go Control R, put an edge loop right there, and accept. Control R, edge loop right there. So they're right in the center. Okay, now in face selection, I'm going to select all those faces. I press C to go into circle or box select, paint select. Deselect there, and I'm going to right click, and because I have loop tools installed, which is a free add-on in Blender, I'm going to press circle. As you can see, it extends out, so just go S and scale it in, and you know, come to wherever, you know, right about there or whatever. I'm going to look from the side, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'll come up to about the second grid unit there, and I'll hit S and I'll scale it in like this, and then I'm going to press I to inset, come in a little ways, and then E to extrude, and I see I've got snapping on, so let's take that off, and let's make sure we can do this right. E to extrude, and come down in the Z, just a certain ways down. No one's going to look down that far. I'm going to get X and faces, get rid of those faces. Okay, we'll go back to object mode and Control 2. Let's turn this off. All right. And shade smooth, and this is what I've got, so I'm going to add an edge loop down here. I'm going to add an edge loop coming in like that. Let's go up here. Let's zoom in on this. Let's put an edge loop coming into the middle. It doesn't have to be super tight, and coming out to there. Seeing how that's looking so far. Okay, now for this part, I think what I'll do is I will, in edge selection, number 2, select this edge, hold down shift, this edge, and this edge. And now I'm going to Control B, bevel, and I'm going to roll my mouse up and do some edges like that. And then I'm going to take this edge here and Control B, and I don't need too many. I'll do something like that. And then underneath, I'm going to get rid of this stuff anyhow. Faces. Okay, let's have a look at that. There's my cone. Alt H, bring everything back. Take this guy and let's bring you out here and up. Are you still under the ground? Come on up. Okay. There's my cone. Okay, maybe we'll go back to this. Yeah, there's my cone, and what I was thinking I would do is let's get rid of the ceiling for now. Is this would be kind of near some of those drains. I'm gonna do a couple, a few, and this will waste some polys because they'll be doing subdivision surface. So, I'll have a few of them sort of spread out. So, here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to come into the floor. I think I'm going to select that, and I'm going to Shift S, cursor selected. Bring my 3D cursor there. Look down from the top, and I take it back. Let's choose one that's a little further out, so it's a little bit easier. It's not blocked by the pipes. Okay, so there's my 3D cursor. I'm going to bring in a circle, and I'm going to go for, let's say 24. Go into edit mode and vertex and S. Get the approximate size. I'll be doing some work on the tile in a moment. And at this point, you can either follow a diagram or you can just make it up. All right, I'm going to make it up. I'm going to go E and S. E and S. I'm just going to come in a bunch of times. I'm not even paying it any attention. That's what I'm doing. 3 for face mode. This is the middle line here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, let's zoom in a bit more. C for page select. And I'm just going to select a few of these. So there's my side one. So I'm going to go for 4 here. And 4 here. And 4 here. Not these outer ones. So I got that. And then I'm going to do, let's say I got these 2, those 2, those 2, and those 2. That's about all I can do based on how I did this. So I can make some adjustments. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to X faces. What I'll do is I'll go Shift H so we can see just that. I could leave it like that, or I could take this and scale it out. E and S. I could do one more. Actually, I need 2, I think. E and S. Come like that. I could do one more here. Let's see if I got rid of those faces. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So those 2, these 2, these 2, and these 2. Is that right? X faces. Yeah. All right. So then what you do is you go Control or Control 2 for 2 subdivisions. And I'm going to go into edit mode and extrude it to give it some thickness. And then I have to come around and put edge loops, and this may take a little bit of time to do this, and so I may speed this up. Okay, there's my main drain piece. So let's bring stuff back here. All right, now what I need to do is I need to do some work now. on this part. And because it is symmetrical, and you'll notice that when I did it in top view, it was actually looking in this orientation, but it works out for either. So before I do that, actually, I'm going to make a new collection. I'm going to call it drain. Okay, back into the floor. I'm going to select this face, and I am going to Control R, put an edge loop there and there. And I'm going to select these faces, and I'm going to inset a little bit and convert to a circle. I'm going to pull the circle in until it's similar to the size of my drain. I want to use a good enough size. All right, and I'm just going to delete those faces. Now the floor actually is underneath here as well. I actually have like the way I built this, you know, and so I'm going to cut a hole in the floor. It's just what I'm going to have to do. I can do that. Yeah, I think I'll do that right now, actually. So what I'll do is I'm going to shift and select there, and my 3D cursor should still be right in the middle. Let's see, how do I want to cut? I may just take this piece here and Shift D. I'll just bring it up. I just copied the edge loop here and P to break it out. And there shouldn't be anything crazy on there. I'll go into it, E to extrude, and just push it down through the floor. And then I want to do a Boolean, so I'm going to put faces on there. And then what I'll do is I'll just select my floor, actually, not my tiles. Here, let's hide the tiles. Select the floor itself. And I'm going to do a Boolean on the floor. And I'll apply. I'm going to take this and hide it. Now, I've got this, and I can adjust that, but really my tiles are going to be over it. And stuff is covering it everywhere else. All right, and so what that's going to allow me to do is just to hide that. I now have a hole there. And that may actually be a bit too big. So what I'll do is I'm going to Shift Alt and click that. And I'm going to scale Shift Z to make sure it doesn't scale. And I'm going to bring it in a little bit like that. I'm not quite done yet, obviously. I'm going to go into my drain. And I'm going to Shift Alt and click an edge. And I'm going to steal that edge. Shift D. I'll just bring it up. I'll scale it out a bit. And I'm going to P to break it out. I do want a subdivision surface on this. I'm going to go E and S and come in a bit. Select it all, E, and come down. Let's get it form an outer ring, actually. And then I'll just throw some edge loops in here. One up, and one down, and one this way, and one this way. And I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to push it down here. Let's shade this smooth. And let's see. This is going to help cover up that. Any sharp edges. In fact, I might need to make it a bit wider. So let's see. Let's hide this. I think I will. So I'm going to Shift Alt and click these polys right there. I'm going to go Scale Shift Z. Just pull them in a bit more. And actually take this edge and I'll scale this in. And Alt H. Hide that guy. And there's my drain piece. And got that. And then it's just a question of, if you don't want it to just go off into eternity, which is probably fine. Actually, let's make these a little bit, you don't want to step on that too much. Okay, so that's probably good enough, I think, for what I want to do. Okay, so just have this here as like a bit of a warning. Be careful, don't go there. And that's what we'll have. Okay, so we now have a drain in there. And switching to a matte cap can also often reveal I may have to flip my polys. So select it all, Alt N, recalculate outside. See the way that changed color? Same with this one. And then I now have my, you can always try it on everything. I now have my drainless, let's get rid of the 3D cursor there. Well, I could just turn off overlays. Okay, and then, I mean, if you wanted, you could have this, you know, off there, and that's why you've got that there. I could just take it, oh, not that one. Be careful, you fall into space. You can put a little cylinder underneath there, a pipe or something like that if you really wanted to. Let's turn that back on. You can steal one of those shifty, bring it down, P to break it out. I don't need a subdivision surface on that. What I would do is this. Let's bring it back up here. Extrude down a little ways. Just say F to close that off. There we go. Make sure the polys are facing the right way. And you might need to do auto smooth. And then, you know, now you're not looking off into space. If I just use a different mat cap, you know, it looks a little bit like there's a pipe. You could curve the pipe off if you wanted. So that is what we end up with. All right. And I think at this point, I should consider calling it quits with the modeling. I love the modeling, but move on to modeling some kind of subway car on here, and then we'll look at what we can do to render this. I want to do an ambient occlusion, and then beyond that, maybe some materials. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for the time being, just with my tile floor, my cone, and my drain.